Hi, my name is Sarah Konner. I'm teaching one class at the Freiburg Contact Improvisation Festival this year, and today I was a participant in a lab by Jess Curtis, something around accessibility and aging, and I went to the lab because I am interested in the topic and notice that the spaces that I'm holding, even when it's not clear that somebody has something visible that might be considered a disability or differently abled, often there are a lot of different needs in a space, and that's something that I'm looking for more tools around about how to keep finding out what people's accessibility needs are and meet those needs whenever possible. And one of the things that seemed like an important takeaway was how much can we think about ahead of time before we're in a room. So already thinking about how can the material that we might be teaching be modifiable. What are the principles, maybe even when I'm planning a class, what are the principles underlying what it is I'm teaching, if it might be form-based in order to have a response ready for different needs, different learning styles even. And then I have my notes here. I'm going to look down at them a little bit, but it seemed one of the things that we talked about was the difference between tangible and intangible things that could be access barriers or allow for accessibility. So tangible would be that there would be an elevator or a ramp or any number of other physical ways that would make differently and disabled people able to access an event or a space, and then intangible things would be more in the realm of like the cultural container and my own preparation as a teacher or facilitator, being ready to be adaptable. Another thing that came up that was interesting for me was the idea of time shifting in a teaching space, given different needs, and that how do we bring along a group of participants to feel that maybe changing expectations about how quickly we might move through material might be a worthwhile thing to let go of in order to work in a way that we're all learning about accommodation and we're all learning about processing time and how might we, so we did get in a conversation about like what happens for, how do we bring along non-disabled people in the space or people that don't identify as having an accommodation need, an access accommodation, that's the way I want to phrase that. How do we get everybody to feel like the time spent to slow down or change material or simplify or redirect is actually really valuable? And then I'm gonna just look at my notebook for a moment. We talked about how valuable it is to study with disabled artists as a way to learn more about this topic and learn more about how to hold space in a way that might actually feel supportive and accessible for disabled and differently abled people. And then we did have this conversation around words and how specific words feel better to people than others, and it was an interesting conversation to be having in a room full of people that speak a lot of different languages. And I was glad to be reminded of how challenging it must be to keep up with what words are triggering and not triggering, or supportive or not supportive in a language that is not a first language. So I felt like it was a space where people could also just ask questions like, what does this word mean? Or is this word better than that word? I don't have enough fluency in another language to even be at that level of being able to be careful with words in that way. So I have a lot of admiration for folks that are gaining that in a second language. How am I out? Oh, I shouldn't have said that. I'm out of time. All right, I'm out of time.
You're on time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You answered so many things that we could have asked.
Great. Thank you so much.